Well, welcome everyone to another edition of The Entrepreneur's Expert. We've got an amazing guest today. I have got Matt Gilbert with Gilbert Pardue. He is the founder of a boutique middle market mergers and acquisitions firm. Matt, thank you so much for joining us today and being willing to share your wisdom and knowledge with us.
Oh man, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to talk to you and to your audience. You've got a great audience.
Well, we definitely appreciate that. And, I want to jump right into it. I know that we've talked a lot, and I think that we have a very shared mindset about helping entrepreneurs and be
Yeah.
able to really serve them and help them to succeed. And I know that just from talking with you and hearing some of the entrepreneurs that you have actually helped coach and guide and shepherd towards success, that you definitely see yourself as a critical partner in that business. I talk a lot about how entrepreneurs have a Fab Five, those those five individuals that surround the entrepreneur to push them towards success. So what specifically do you and your team do in order to be worthy of being part of that Fab Five?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. First of all, thanks for having me.
Definitely.
The Fab Five is so important. Most of our business owner clients, and we work primarily in the lower middle market. That's businesses generally with revenue up to about 50 million, but could be, way on down to 5 million, 3 million in size. Most of these entrepreneurs haven't really got the organizational sophistication to have a board of directors or to have a really strong senior management team. And so we find that oftentimes they're making decisions in a vacuum. They kind of feel alone at the top. And so that Fab Five group is really important for them to look outside of the organization, somebody who's a little bit unbiased, and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking, and use those guys as a sounding board. And my personal experience, I've been an entrepreneur 4 different times. I founded a company 4 different times. I sold those businesses twice to public companies, once to a private equity firm, and once to a competitor. So I know what it's like to be in those shoes.
You lived it.
Yeah. And, it's very lonely at times, especially when the pressure starts to rise, and the decisions are weighty. And so having a banker, an insurance guy, and a wealth manager, and an M&A advisor, and people around you that you can really reach out, they understand business, they can read a P&L and a balance sheet. They care for you and your employees. They care, to see you be successful. Just having that community is so important. And honestly, most of the entrepreneurs that I have, they have a Fab 1 or a Fab 2. Mm-hmm. They just haven't cultivated 5, right? And so the question kind of was, why should we be one of the 5?
Right.
And the answer really speaks to why we founded the firm. We believe that the best time to prepare to sell your business is the day you start your business. And nobody does that, right? And so the next best time is now. And why is it now? Well, a business that can be sold for maximum value is enjoyable to operate right now. It's profitable right now.
Yeah.
It's got processes and procedures right now. It's got key employees that are clicking along. They're safeguarded with employment agreements and non-competes, and they're incentivized to align their interests with the business's interests. All these things, if they're happening right now, you've got a great company and you should enjoy operating and running that thing, right? And so those are all the things that we really hone in on when we go to help somebody prepare to sell their company. And so understanding that, very often, we have dozens of them that we're working with right now. We'll back the clock up 3 years or 5 years and say, hey, if you want to exit in 5 years, let's do an assessment and let's give you some things to work on that will really increase the tangible value of your business. That's awesome. But it'll also give you more free time. It'll give you more transparency and visibility into your organization. It'll allow you easier time of making decisions. You'll be bringing people up. That's a fun company to operate.
Yeah.
So, long answer to your question, but, I really feel like we could be critical to that Fab Five if we're utilized correctly.
Right. Okay. So I've got two follow-up questions. One,
Sure.
You've been through that process 4 times. does it get any easier?
No, gosh, no. I tell literally in the first conversation or two when I'm speaking with a business owner who wants to talk confidentially about, I'm starting to think about maybe wanting to sell my business. The very first thing that comes out in that conversation is, look, due diligence is going to be the hardest 90 days of your life. You're an Army Ranger. I'm sorry, I'm sure it was a tough experience. I'm sure people were shooting at you. Due diligence, I think my rival being shot at. So it's awful. And so to be prepared for that by somebody who knows what's coming and get all your ducks in a row and have your facts defendable so that you can go toe-to-toe with their quality of earnings people, you can go toe-to-toe with their legal people, you can go toe-to-toe with their HR people of the buyer and stand your ground. That's what's going to lead to a successful exit. And if you back up, this isn't really an M&A show. If you back up and you have all those things in order, your corporate records and all that stuff, you're going to have a much more pleasant business to operate and be in. You're going to really enjoy working again. And so many of the guys and gals that I meet they're just tired, right? They've just been in the grind for 10, 20, 30 years. And they're coasting along the last few years because they're just tired. And, if you surround yourself with that Fab Five and you start getting the enthusiasm of the banker and the enthusiasm of the insurance guy, and here's what we could do with some new products, and hey, let's focus on these new markets, then it becomes, you get those juices flowing again as an entrepreneur. And that drives the value of your business. It drives your personal pay. And it drives the quality of the workplace for your employees. It's all tied together.
So
I don't know if that answered your question.
No, that's perfect. But that leads me to my second question. So have you ever had someone that you've walked through that, and then they fall back in love with the business, and they're like, I don't want to sell it?
Yeah. So it's a long story. I'll give you the really short version. The very second company that when we started our firm, that we took on as a client, there were two partners, and they had a silent investor. And so we met with the two partners and we did a valuation of the business, and we said, look, this business ought to sell for about $4.5 million. If you would accept a check like that, we'll go out to market, we'll market your businesses. Absolutely. If we could get $4 million for this, that would be, just heaven sent. Yeah. We're going to take that. So we go out, we run our process, we get a little competitive situation going. And one of the competitive bidders is a public company, big checkbook, lots of money. They run the thing all the way up to $6 million. I go back to my sellers and I'm like, hey, we didn't get you 4, we got you 6. Let's go to closing.
Let's go.
And they're like, oh man, exactly. And they look at each other and they look at me and I'm like, what are y'all not telling me? And, oh, well, you showed us a pathway to really enjoy our business again. You've showed us a pathway to greater profitability, more prosperity, a new market. Of course, I was showing that to the buyers to entice them to come in. These two guys fell back in love with their company and they said, no, we're not going to sell. So the very next day, I trot down to my attorney's office and I say, hey, in our contract, we need a clause that says, if I do my job and I bring you a buyer and you decide not to sell, I still did my job. You need to compensate me something. Yeah. So we actually made $0 for that 9 months worth of effort. It's a lesson I won't soon forget, but it spoke to the power of having outside influence come in, analyze your business, value your business, look at the marketplace, look at the competitive landscape, look at the quality of your employees, and dream about what could this business be in the hands of somebody who's enthusiastic, who's well capitalized, who knows how to market. What could the business do? And that's the picture we paint for a buyer. Why wouldn't a business owner paint that for himself every couple of years to stay more enthusiastic in the business, have metrics that they can watch and monitor and gauge themselves with and hold themselves accountable. So we think it all ties together, really.
Oh, Matt, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well,
I'm glad that year is behind us.
What's maybe one or two things that entrepreneurs don't realize about M&A transactions and really, how your involvement really impacts them and their businesses?
Yeah, so we started the firm because 4 times I told you I was a seller, 9 times I was a buyer successfully. So that's 13 personal transactions that I was involved in. My business partner was involved in about a dozen transactions personally. And there's probably 40 transactions between us that we tried to do, we failed, right? And so we have a lot of personal experience. And the reason we started the firm was because through all those personal experiences, we didn't feel like that the M&A community in the lower middle market was well suited to serve business owners like us. And let me specifically say confidentiality is a big deal, right? Most business owners don't want their employees knowing, they don't want their customers knowing, they don't want the marketplace knowing what they're thinking. And rightly so, that could harm their business if that gets out. What about the tenure of my employees? My best 6 employees have been with me for 8, 9, and 14 years.
Right.
If I sell this company, what's going to happen to them? I love them like family. They help me be successful, right? And so most of the M&A transaction space is very transactional, and those chips just kind of fall where they fall. We started the firm because we know that those topics like that are so dear to the seller's heart, to the business owner. They just struggle with those things. And so, what we do is we get in there and we find out which ones of these things are most important to you. And we build a program around making sure that we're responsive and sensitive to those issues. And it's just kind of unheard of in our space. You get up into investment banking and other parts of M&A, it's very common. But when you come down to much smaller businesses, most brokers will take a listing, throw it up on the internet, and wait for the phone to ring. If you're a business owner, that actually has about a 17% chance. It's been studied over and over and over again, a 17% chance of being successable. And so we don't recommend those types of
it probably frustrates them because any looky-loos that do come by are just, looking to scrape the bottom, the lowest cost. And it's not a strategic fit. It has nothing to do. We're not a fit from the get-go.
Right.
But without someone like you to be able to screen that and to say, look, I'm not even going to bring you because what you want to do is not what the client's objectives are.
Yeah, I hear so many stories about failed transactions where the advisor and the business owner get a couple of weeks before closing, the deal falls apart in due diligence because some facts come out that weren't out before. Well, and if you do this right, all that happens long before you start marketing, and you and your advisor craft a way to deal with that, right? Yeah. I hear so many horror stories about people getting 2 weeks before closing and they find out that the seller can't qualify for financing or the seller doesn't have any money. Why would you be talking to anybody who doesn't have any money or can't
and showing them your business?
You should that should be the very first thing you want to know is, hey, can you execute a transaction of this size? Oh, you can? Okay, well, let's talk about a cultural fit. Okay, that works pretty well. Okay, let's talk about an operational fit. Let's find the ideal person to buy your business. And we're getting off track a little bit into M&A, and this is kind of like best practices for being an entrepreneur, but all of these things are tied together.
Yeah.
A lot of buyers want to come in and look at your company and find out who your employees are, and they want to approach your best employees and take them from you, right? Yeah. They want to see your customers list, and they want to go and your price list, and they want to go compete with you. They don't really want to buy your business. And those are some unscrupulous tactics that are in the marketplace, but they're very, very common. And so, somebody who knows the landscape kind of has a process, a check and balance system, and a protective cocoon to help you deal with and combat those things is going to be somebody that can get you to the finish line.
Right.
And honestly, they should be set up in your business long before you think you need an M&A advisor, right? And so that's where our coaching and our CEO mentorship and our CFO fractional work all comes in, is to help good organizations, proactive organizations, put all those things in place so that they can be a great business while the owner enjoys it. And then eventually someday everybody's going to exit one way or another, and the exit can be strong.
Awesome. Well, if your industry is anything like the entrepreneurs that I serve across the industries, it's always changing. So is there one thing that you've really seen a recent trend or something that's really top of mind in the M&A world that you think is important for entrepreneurs to know?
Yeah. So in the M&A world, right, I'm going to give you a real live example, something that happened last year. We just closed this transaction, and what it is people are reaching out to a decent business or a reputable business all the time. It could be vendors, it could be competitors, and it's certainly M&A people are reaching out to those business owners saying, hey, I want to talk to you about acquiring your company. Hey, I want to talk to you about selling your company. A lot of people will call a business owner. It's a very common tactic. Say, hey, I have a buyer for your company. Start showing me your P&L. Let's talk about stuff. Don't buy into any of that. The best way to manage this process is to be in control, right? Don't let control get in the other camp, right? So if you're going to have those talks with somebody who's calling you up or emailing you out of the blue, or they meet you at a conference or a trade show, you probably even know them, you probably even trust them. That's probably the worst thing you can do. And here's my example. Last February, we had a husband and wife team that owned the business. They called us up. They got my partner. They had heard of him and through reputation, and somebody said, hey, call Brett. They called my partner and they said, hey, we have an $18 million offer to buy our business. We like it. We know the company. We think we want to take it. And here's the catch. Our banker suggested we talk to you and see if it's a good deal. And so partner met with that couple, came back to us. We have CPAs on staff. We have research analysts. We're, well equipped to analyze these things. We kind of picked it apart. We did a financial review. We did evaluation. We went back to the couple about 3 weeks later, and we said, hey, I know you're enamored by this $18 million offer, but in a normal market, we think your business would bring probably 30.
Oh my God.
And so, we don't think you should take that $18 million offer. If you hired us to run a process, we feel like we could get you at least 30 million for this business. So they thought about it for about 12 seconds and they said, sure, go get us 30. And so we entered into our process. And it's very methodical, modular process that we built to take a business all the way through. And about, 2/3 into it, we said, hey, this isn't a normal market from historical standards. Money's cheaper. There's more people with it. There's a lot of clamoring in this particular industry to make acquisitions. This Gulf Coast region is the hottest region on the planet for this particular stuff, right? And so we think this is a really frothy, we can do way better than $30 million market. We kind of positioned the company that way. We took it out. We got offers all the way up to mid-60s. And that particular high offer was from a public company. Didn't pan out to be a good fit culturally, didn't pan out to work. So we pulled back, we regrouped with our business owner. We went out again. Eventually we ended up selling the business on Christmas Eve last year at 6:50 or something at night. We had all these people working Christmas Eve. And we closed for a number in excess of 50 million. I won't say the number.
Merry Christmas.
And so in February, these folks were taking an unsolicited call for 18 million, and they were like, yeah. And then, you get into a process, it's run well, it's run professionally, you create some competition, you put some guardrails and parameters around it, pull in a great attorney, pull in a tax advisor. The banker started all this by recommending it. He was on the team, right? Here comes a CPA, and we surround this couple with the Fab Five, and we go all the way up, and we get them 3.5, 4 times the original offer. That was unsolicited.
So cool.
They weren't even they weren't even thinking about selling their company when the offer came. That's an extreme example, but it's real. But I hear a version of that story every week from some business owner that I met. Because if you have a decent business, you're getting those calls and you're getting those emails right now.
That's right. That's right. Well, so tell me what really defines the customers that get maximum value out of you. I think just talking with you and in the previous conversations, you realize that you can't be all things to everyone. And so to be able to say, okay, how can I work with people that maximize your value? Can you describe that customer?
Yeah, for one, I'm gonna tell you a quality about us, then I'll describe that. The quality about us is we're very extremely disciplined to stay in our lane, right? We're not going to get over here and give you legal advice. We're not going to get over here and give you tax advice. We're not going to get over here and give you banking or insurance. We're going to bring in the best professional we know for your situation and create a team of experts that all can handle their own areas. So that's number one. And in our industry, that's kind of unheard of. It just doesn't happen very much. So that's our approach for being, really able to stay focused and stay on our lane. And then the question is, what value do we bring? Or go ahead and ask me the question again.
Describe the customer, some characteristics of customers that maximize your relationship.
So it's a family owned or a privately held or a couple of partners that own a business. They've been in business a while. They've got a good track record and history. They built a name in their community or their geography or their business sector. Some well-tenured employees that they're proud of that other employers would want to have. A customer list that's envious. Maybe master services agreements with customers and contracts with customers. Certainly, these people are kind of how we open this podcast. They're not well advised internally. They're kind of at the top of the pyramid in their organization. There's no board of directors. There's no people to soundboard off of, hold them accountable, bounce ideas off of. And so really that's the best customer that we can serve. And maybe I'll ask, why are they the best customer that we can serve? Well, one is they can benefit from all the different disciplines that we bring to the table.
Yep.
Right? We're the only M&A group that I know of in the lower middle market that has full-blown legit CPAs on staff, right? We have 4 accounting professionals at this time. 2 of them are actual CPAs. Now our contract says, hey, even though we have a CPA on staff, we're not working in the capacity of a CPA, consult your own. But we got this. We can convert to GAAP accounting if we need to, right? We bring in the attorney. We've got research analysts. We've got data analysts. We've got industry experts. We've got safety people. We've got former CEOs that we're going to surround you with. And you raised an eyebrow. There's 5 former CEOs on our team that represent probably about $500 million worth of historical business. So we're going to surround you with these guys, and we're going to brainstorm with you. Right? Because it's not what we want, right? We want to come in there and we'll say, okay, what are you trying to achieve, business owner, right? And have you thought about this? And have you thought about that? And there's a risk here, and there's a pitfall there. And well, you need to back up 2 steps, and we need to, bring your banker in, and we need to reorganize this, and your insurances are weak. And we go through this whole process, the same process a buyer's going to go through,
right? If
they vet you, right? We do that on the front end, so that you're not bulletproof, but you're very, very strong going into the process. And so our ideal client is that privately held business owner or group of owners or family that just isn't as well advised as the company down the street that has a board of directors and has consultants and has advisors on staff. Right. We become that for them.
So define, we've said it a couple times, you focus on the lower middle market. What does that mean to you?
Yeah. So to me, it's really the easiest way to say it is a revenue of $5 to $50 million revenue business. Now we've got a handful of smaller than $5 million revenue businesses that fit our process well. And we've got a smattering of much larger than $50 million businesses that fit our process well. But generally, if you're in there, 5 to 50, we've custom built a shop to deal with the problems that you have. The 4 businesses that I had, the 2 that my partner had, they ranged from at exit. The lowest was a $7 million sale. And the highest was $100 million in revenue, and I won't say what that sold for.
Sure.
And so we've experienced all the growing pains, all the mistakes you can make, the turbulence with the financial crisis, and credit crunches, and all those things. And so we come in and surround these business owners, and we really help them kind of shore up the weaknesses that they have personally. Most business owners will plateau somewhere. Right. And it's really kind of plateaued at their own desire to continue growing themselves, right? They'd rather play golf and go fishing and hunting and all that stuff than be going, right? And so we come in and we give them the knowledge to continue growing, and where they can make decisions off of that knowledge. We stand beside them and help them with that. And so we kind of break through those plateaus a lot of times with our clients. Just by bringing in people who've been there and done that.
Right. Oh man, that's fantastic. And I love that point. I love that thought process. I just recently interviewed on another podcast that I do one of my favorite clients, and he says that he spends 50% of his time either investing in himself or his team.
Yeah.
And this is an entrepreneur that is leading a fast-growing, dynamic, extremely profitable company.
Isn't there a correlation, right? Fast-growing, extremely profitable, dynamic company is because they're putting their investment in the right place, right? I've owned a number of businesses. We've invested in pickup trucks and equipment. We've invested in fixed machinery. We've invested in inventory, right? The things that catapulted us in hindsight was when we invested in a better safety program, right? When we invested in better training for our personnel, when we took senior management and we went through EOS or something like that, to where we could kind of break the lid off the potential of our business. Every business, I believe, has potential that's just completely untapped, right? And it's a mystery to the people in the grind every day of how to untap it. They feel it, they know it's there, but they just can't, And so a fresh set of eyes from the outside, somebody who's been there and seen other companies do it and helped others go through it, they can come in and push the buttons and turn the wrenches and break that out, And then your CEO that you were just talking about, the people that invest in themselves and in their knowledge and in their understanding, they go the furthest every time.
Right.
Every time.
That's awesome. Well, you have shared so much. I love that you've got real life examples. I mean, you're not just faking the funk. You're actually going through and saying, hey, this is how it really is, and this is how I've pushed entrepreneurs towards success. And we start with what is success for them. What's one thing, Matt, that the world may not know about you, personally, professionally?
Well, I'm gonna give you 2 things.
Okay.
You said one. There's a bonus. The easy answer, my favorite answer is there's nothing more important to me than my family and God and Christ. So I'm up to 5 grandkids already.
Oh, congratulations.
I got my mom that lives across the street. I got one of my daughters and her family living next door. And so every Thursday night, as a matter of fact, we have family dinner night at our house, and a whole bunch of people show up.
I'm coming tonight.
Show up. It literally is bring friends, if you got a guest in town, whatever. So we never know who's going to show. It's always at least a dozen or more people. It's a blast. So if you invite me after hours or to go golfing or something like that, honestly, I'm going to decline because I'd rather be playing Barbie or kickball in the backyard with all these kids and grandkids.
Yeah.
Nothing against the invitation or you.
Yeah.
The other thing about me is one of our earliest businesses was environmental services. We sold that company to a public company. After the non-compete ran out, we started another environmental services company. And here's the thing. If you own your property, if you deal with any hazardous materials, if you've got processes that have chemicals in them or air emissions in them or waste disposal in it or anything like that, it's going to make your transaction much more complex.
Of course.
And so having an advisor in your Fab Five who really understands the environmental impact, the regulations, the insurances, the rules around dealing with those things to make sure that you don't trip and stumble and half of your generational wealth that you think is going to come in goes to the IRS and to the environmental cops. You know, that's something that really needs to be looked at seriously in the beginning. And so that's one of the things that I think sets myself and my firm apart from our peers is we have that background of owning and operating environmental service companies, a phase one, a phase two, sampling every chemical known to man. We've been a hazardous waste transporter. We've been a hazardous waste handler. So we can come in and you know, in this part of the world with the ship channel and the oil field and all the industry that we have,
it's there.
So many of these companies have these issues and they don't know it. You know, they're trucking along day to day. Even if you're just parking forklifts out on a gravel yard, you got hydraulic stains out on that yard. You know, that's going to put a bump in the road between you and refinancing your property with the bank, right? You got to have a phase one. You got to clean up the hydraulic stains, right? And it just gets more complicated from there. Do you have sumps? Do you have storm drains run into a retention pond? You know, all these issues. So the second thing that people don't know about us that they probably should is we've got some really niche areas of expertise on the team that we could come in and really help you improve your business, reduce your liability, prepare yourself to have an enjoyable rest of your career and a great exit.
Well, Matt, I think that I could talk to you all day. This has been so enlightening and so much fun. I love your passion. I love your priorities. I love your willingness to serve entrepreneurs and be able to say, look, I want you to take my experience and I want you to gain from it and I want to bring value. So thank you so much for joining us today. Really, really appreciate it. And to everyone watching, if you think that you might be looking to sell your business, or maybe you're looking to acquire a business, or maybe you don't even know, I'll have Matt, if it's all right with you, Matt, I'll have your contact information after the video.
Yeah.
Definitely reach out to Matt and his team, and just Matt, we just thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah. One more shameless plug. If you put our website on there, if they'll go to the bottom of the website, we have a newsletter and a podcast. The podcast comes out every Monday. The newsletter comes out once a month, and they're completely educational, aimed at business owners. And we're hitting them with topics that are relevant all the time and just kind of best practices, real life experiences, professionals that they might want to talk to, those kind of things. All that's free. If they want to sign up, they can go to the bottom of the website.
I can attest the podcast is binge worthy. So so go ahead and check it out. Definitely.
Yeah, we try hard. I think we are up to 270 something episodes.
I mean, I've learned a lot learning from you, but I've also learned a lot from what you put out in the content, and I love the open hand with which you hold your knowledge. So thank you again.
Thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Until next time, this is Greg Martin, the Entrepreneur's Banker. I hope you all you learned a lot. I hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.